Thanks for joining us for the next session. We have a very, very exciting session today with Rob from Delta Airlines. Rob, how are you doing today?
I'm very good. Thanks, Nick. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again. Rob, for those that don't know, can you please introduce yourself and Delta Airlines to the audience?
Sure. My name is Rob Walpole, Vice President of Cargo Operations and Logistics at Delta Airlines. And what that means is leadership of the operation of the global cargo business, and also development and implementation of new products, services that we're trying to build and develop and implement as we grow our business outside of our core cargo operations. I've been at Delta for just over 12 months, and prior to joining Delta Airlines, I was in the logistics and supply chain industry for almost 20 years in a number of different regions, Asia Pacific, Europe, and Americas during that period. So great to be here. Looking forward to the discussion.
Excellent. So let's get into the questions. So
Sure.
Obviously, I think everybody's seen, the stats on the crazy e-commerce kind of boom that we've seen over the last 7 months. So can you explain to the audience what role you see airlines playing in the future of e-commerce and last mile delivery as well?
Sure. So as you mentioned, the last 6 months have been a crazy and positive time in the e-commerce market. There's some markets in the world that are saying that they are 3 to 5 years ahead in their development than they expected to be 12 months ago. And so as an airline, when we look at this sector and where we can add value and build a business, it's really based on 3 specific principles. The first for us is around our domestic network leverage. So if you look at the e-commerce market in the US, for example, where we have a dense network and service offering, what we're doing is we are building and implementing an end-to-end solution where we're plugging in first and last mile carriers on top of our technical platform to be able to provide a cost competitive and timeline competitive service for companies that are replenishing or providing mid-distance e-commerce deliveries in the market. So network leverage is the first point. Our ability to integrate our service providers and the end-to-end operators into that platform is an important functionality for us that we need to have to compete in that market. And the third part is really around, with that product and service that we have developed, it's not for all parts of the e-commerce sector. So if you're a home grocery delivery business in a city, you're not going to have Delta Airlines carry your groceries for you. But in the big and bulky sector, in the automotive aftermarket sector, in the specialty retail sector, all of those, the structure of those industries lend themselves well to the service offering that we've developed. So in those areas, there's value in the e-commerce offering that we have.
Excellent. So you mentioned, I guess, the technical platform there. Mm-hmm. Can you talk, specifically to which technologies you are using to ensure, the operational efficiency and the customer satisfaction that everybody's looking for?
Yeah. So in terms of sort of specific branding of technology, maybe not, but it's certainly in terms of functionality and what we need to compete in that sector. So as a legacy cargo operator with the other logistics capability that we have in our business, what we've tried to do is build on that, what we see as a strong core. So our core of our TMS functionality, our cargo operating system, the warehouse management system functionality as the basis of our platform, and that's pretty regular, like any company competing in that sector. So we have a strong operating base that we're able to leverage off. And so then when you look at having that strong base as an airline, what we've tried to do is sort of commit to a digitalization strategy and transformation of that platform to be able to sort of develop APIs for our customers and our carriers to plug into, to be able to fully integrate, whether it be via APIs or via deltacargo.com, our web platform that we invested heavily to become an e-commerce tool for us. Nearly 35 to 40% of our orders flow in via deltacargo.com today. And then the other parts underneath that are really about adding functionalities to our platform that we need in terms of, let's say, Bluetooth across our network for our assets. Obviously GPS tracking, which is nothing revolutionary, but it's a capability you need to participate in the business. And also in terms of the systems and processes that we need to be able to take a journey towards being a paperless operation from sort of our payment systems and payment processing capabilities. So strong core, innovative approach into the additional functionalities that we need to participate in that market, and then plug in sort of additional pieces to flesh out our e-commerce offering.
Definitely. So I think a very important aspect when it comes to this whole process of e-commerce is obviously managing consumer expectations. So a really good example, I recently bought something online from a really well-known retailer, and they said to me, you expect this within 5 days, and I received, very good updates, and actually came within 3 days. So my expectations were actually obviously surpassed. Can you talk to the importance of open communication to retain, consumer confidence when it comes to e-commerce?
Sure. So, so obviously, open communication is a critical part of what is a very time-sensitive sector. So, for anyone that participates in this market, it's critical. Customers are at the core of what we do as a business overall, as an entity for Delta Airlines, but clearly within the cargo business also. The critical question is not sort of understanding that it's important. Of course, it's very important. It's how you deliver on that communication part that's important. And for us, there's a couple of key principles or initiatives that we've got after as we've developed our e-commerce offering. And the first is around what I would call specificity. So I mentioned earlier that as an airline logistics, as a logistics player coming from an airline background, we are not for everyone. So there's certain sectors where we can provide a competitive e-commerce offering and solution. And so it's very important that when we go to those customers in that market, that we're clear on which of those businesses we can provide a competitive offer. So, I mentioned earlier some of those sectors, and having that clarity and that specificity is very important. The second part, in terms of customer communications, what we've tried to do as a business is leverage on some of the functionality that we have in other parts of our business going into this pursuit. And one example would be what we call our cargo control center, which is a internal and customer serving function in terms of tracking, exception management, proactive communication, whether it be digital or otherwise. We've built on we've used our platforms that we have to extend them into a e-commerce functionality. So to your example of, I'm a customer, I ordered something, I thought it was going to be here in 5 days and it got there in 3. If you're a Delta or Dash door-to-door customer, and the Dash door-to-door is our product, then you will know that either by the data that we're feeding you via APIs or going onto our website, and it'll tell you exactly where it is. And if there is a miss and there's an exception to be managed, we have the capability through our control center to manage that directly with customers.
Excellent. So one of the sectors you mentioned earlier was big and bulky. Obviously, this has been a key area of growth in e-commerce. Can you talk to, I guess, some of the challenges of last mile delivery when it comes to big and bulky, and how we can overcome some of those challenges?
Yeah. So you said it already, Nick, but clearly it's one of the fastest growing markets of the e-commerce sector, and particularly in the developing or developed world. It's growing rapidly, and being in the US, certainly here, it's been one of the fastest growing sectors in the e-commerce space in the last years. So from our perspective, as an airline-based e-commerce logistics player, when you look at the big and bulky products, they don't fit in every plane in our network, right? So if you're operating a narrow body plane from point A to point B, then we don't and can't participate in that sector because we don't have the assets to do so. So if you step back and then look at, okay, where do we participate in the big and bulky market? It's with the door-to-door connections through our wide body flights, which are our main hubs, right? So if you're flying if you've got replenishment or a delivery from Atlanta to New York or Atlanta to Chicago or whatever, then we have the full service for the wide body, for the big and bulky products with our connected trucking network or bolt-on delivery drivers who are certified to carry those products. So in that market, and that's not 100% of the market, of course. It's a smaller percentage of the market, but it's typically for exception deliveries, for companies where they're running fairly centralized distribution pools and they need to get the product into markets where that product is not, we're able to provide a faster solution than going through a hub network, a solution that's cost competitive with an LTL provider in that respect. So in that subset, what I call the subset of the big and bulky delivery business, we're competitive. The challenges are matching assets for us, and then the connection into the last mile is not such a challenge for us. And once you get it into the last mile, I think some of the typical delivery, scheduling, certification of drivers, those things, we have the same topics to solve as the other players in that sector, and we're typically using our preferred partners who have certifications to fulfill those orders. And also, if I go back to the how do we manage it from a customer standpoint, customer service centers, and the service capability that we've built, that business rolls straight back into those same service levers, cargo control center, our .com platform, use of APIs, etc. That business rolls straight back into that platform for us.
Excellent. So shifting gears slightly, obviously a lot of commerce is very global, as we know. How do your global airline partnerships increase the speed and efficiency of delivery of your delivery network?
So it's a good question, and from a Delta standpoint, we have a number of different joint venture relationships, partnerships that are all, fundamentally focused on improving or increasing the choices for our customers and the service offering that they're able to source from a network standpoint. So if you think about the transatlantic market, we have a joint venture with Air France, KLM, and Virgin Atlantic, which is fundamentally around better capacity, greater choice of routing and distribution options, etc. We have a similar relationship with Korean Airlines in the Asia Pacific market, and Aeromexico for as a transporter service offering into Mexico from the US. So all of those are, maybe it's an obvious comment in the first instance, but about providing a greater choice and greater network option for our customers. On its own, the network option is not really enough. I think what you have to be able to do is have to be able to provide consistent services, a single sort of look and feel for customers when they're trying to access that capability or that set of services. So between the joint venture partners, we have a single booking window where you can go in and use a single instance booking platform for the transatlantic joint venture. We have behind that sort of consistent service offerings in terms of co-located operations, last mile distribution capabilities that are connected. And the third part that's important in that respect is for international business in the e-commerce space, the specialty products, healthcare, pharma, other specialty products, those parts of the business are very important for our customers and also for us. So we have a consistent offering across the JV network for specialty products in terms of services, in terms of cool chain facilities, etc. So, we and our partners have worked hard in the last years on providing that consistent end-to-end service, not just here's Delta Airlines and here's the other players with different service offerings. And now that we have those fairly consistent service offerings, then you can really leverage the broader network in an effective way. And that's what we've tried to do.
Definitely. So I guess as we wrap up, as we come to the end of today's interview, can you just talk to, I guess, the future and kind of what you see? Obviously 2020, there's been about 10-20 years of history all packed into, 10 months already, which has been obviously quite crazy. Can you talk to the opportunity and the hope that you see going into 2021 and beyond?
Yeah. So to your point of 2020, and there's not a whole lot of sort of bright spots or positive business impacts you might see out of 2020, but the e-commerce market is certainly one of those that has seen a big kick, as we mentioned at the start of this discussion. And so if I take a filter of the topic that we've talked about today as a airline participating in the e-commerce sector, I think that the opportunity for us within the market is really around, as that market matures, I think the mid-market, mid-distance, not mid-market, the mid-distance distribution requirements and the more complexity that's built into the e-commerce market and the customers and what they expect, that will increase the opportunities for companies like us. That's one part that is a real opportunity for us. The other thing that from a future perspective, maybe what happens that's going to help the market is there is obviously a myriad of first mile, last mile providers with different technology platforms and not a lot of aggregation of technology that's trying to support this market. And so in the next, look, it's not next year, but in the next 3 to 5 years, starting to see aggregation of technology platforms in general, that's not an airline comment, that's an industry comment, will really provide a lot of opportunity to improve efficiency. And I think then you also see a lot of consolidation in the industry, right? In the first and last mile sector that will improve quality of service, consistency, flexibility, and things. So for us as an airline, we love what we see as the opportunities in this market. And then in the broader market, I guess the next phase is really about, I wouldn't call it consolidation, but leverage of scale and efficiency of players and participants, outside of Amazon, because there's Amazon and then there's other players. And I think you will see a development, consolidation of capability in other sectors of the industry alongside Amazon.
Excellent. So I think it's a great way to end. Obviously, Rob, you'll be joining us on the direct-to-consumer panel in a few seconds. So look forward to hearing more of your thoughts there. Thanks a lot for joining us for the interview. And I guess hopefully we can do this in real life, so to speak, or in a physical setting next year.
Thanks, Nick. Look forward to it.